So as lovely as the serenade is, it's becoming very difficult to hear, so I think we're going to cut short the last presentation. But we appreciate Sheriff Wilson. He is in his 44th year in law enforcement. If any of you have heard him speak before, he is quite moving, and so we will definitely bring him back to give him his time. He began in 1975 as a deputy sheriff with Limestone County. January 2001, he began his first elected term as sheriff of Limestone County. In January of 2017, he began serving his 5th term. Sheriff Dennis Wilson.
Thank you, Christy, and it's a huge honor to be here today and work with this group of dedicated professionals. We've reached the point of the conference that everyone enjoys, and that's we're going home. So I'll make it short and sweet for you. It's been an amazing conference. To sit in the room and listen to the professionals in this room talk about how we can make a difference is very, very encouraging to me. I speak to you today on behalf of the Sheriff's Association of Texas and Texas Sheriffs. I sit on the Texas Commission on Jail Standards, and I represent the rural sheriffs in Texas. About 74% of our county jails are considered mid or small jails. What you've talked about today is so critical, and the judge hit on it a while ago. You have to get up and make an effort if you're going to make a difference. I'm going to tell you, I started my speeches a long time ago when I realized that those that suffer from mental health illness often have no voice. I made a point to when I address crowds wherever they are and we talk about the behavioral health care system in Texas to make sure that you understand I'm not here as a sheriff. I'm here speaking for those that suffer from mental health illness. I'm the voice that often gets lost in the forest. They get lost in our county jails. They get lost in our criminal justice system. They get lost in society. At the end of the day, I want you to understand that that person was created by the same God that created me and you. Mental health and behavioral health care system in Texas is on the move up. We have a lot of ways to go. And it's because of the efforts of your group, Christy, and what's going on in the criminal justice system and our LMHAs, we're making a difference. We have a long way to go, but we have to get involved. I never, ever, ever give a speech that I don't recognize the services of our state legislators. They are critical to what we do every day. I also will tell you this, that it's very important that each and every one of you in this room have a relationship with your state senator and your state representative and share with them and educate them on the problems that we face at home. Now, I have a lot of friends in Harris County. I have a lot of friends in Lubbock. I have a lot of friends all over the state. The larger areas of our state have a big toolbox. Those of us in the rural areas often have a very little toolbox. And one of the things that I compliment the commission on is we've finally come up with a book that we can identify where the resources are. We've also have legislation passed where we are dragging law enforcement into a relationship with our LMHAs, and that's critical. Many years ago, when I was early in my career in law enforcement, I wanted to beat up the guys in the LMHAs because I thought it was their fault because I was stuck in the emergency room for days upon days, or I could not move that forensic inmate to a state hospital. Once I engaged with my LMHAs and began to educate myself, and they educated me on how the system worked, it opened my eyes to a whole new world. I spend a lot of time harping and yelling and screaming at my sheriffs, telling them, you have to come to the table and be involved in this process. There is no one that is more important than the other when we talk about attacking the problems of the behavioral health care in the state of Texas. The legislature in the past couple of sessions have made some very smart investments in the behavioral health care system. A couple of them I'll point out to you, the ready access to outpatient treatment for adults and children. We're trying to do away with the wait list. Locally purchased psychiatric inpatient beds at private hospitals. You know, I hear a lot and I speak a lot about the beds, but it's no longer just about the beds. Yeah, we could get 1,000 beds in the morning and I'll fill them up by afternoon. It's the diversion that we plan on. It's the treatment that we plan on. Continuity of care. You've heard it over and over and over again. It's critical to serving the people in the behavioral health care system with a continuity of care. The state hospital system and the redesign. The legislature this past session appropriated money to go into our state hospital systems and make improvements on those campuses that have been needed for many, many years. We were adding beds, but it's not going to happen overnight. The majority of the beds that you see from this funding in this session is going to come online in 2022 and 2023. In the meantime, we have work to do. We have to get after it. House Bill 13, Senate Bill 292. Again, state money that were provided to us to use. Now, I'll tell a story about if you go to the legislature and you ask for money, and I had this happen to me by Jane Nelson, Senator Jane Nelson, when we were talking one day about I had my cowboy hat out and was wanting money to be put into it. And she said, Sheriff, I'm going to be honest with you. If you're going to come into my office and ask for money for projects, then you tell me where the best practices are and you tell me what's working, because we're not putting money in your hat just because you ask. And that's what we've talked about this morning. We've talked about the good things that are working. We've talked about the things that need tweaking. And that's why we could continue. These investments will pay off, and they will pay off big, because we go home and we talk about taxpayer local savings and how we can divert people out of the criminal justice system. We all know it takes a person with mental health illness 8 times longer to go through the criminal justice system than it does a person that's not experiencing those problems. I believe that we do it backwards. I believe if we identify somebody that's coming into our criminal justice system, that we should treat them first, and we should bring them online. And once we get that issue addressed, then let's bring them to court. Let's run them through the court system. Continuity of care, continuity of care. When we get them at the end of the court system, we still have jobs to do this to be successful. So the state hospital redesign is critical to what we do. It's something that we work on. Those of us that run county jails, there's 244 county jails in Texas. That population is held hostage, but we're working on it. We're trying to move those out of the way. My key point this morning is simply this. I believe that the legislators and the legislative process are paying more attention than they've ever paid to what our needs are. But it's going to take every one of us in this room and those in our professions, whether you're with the LMHA, whether you're judicial, whether you're law enforcement, your private practice, you have to speak your mind and speak your need to your local senators and representatives. You have to educate them. And you don't do that in January. The process starts in the interim. You must start educating them right now, and we must show them what our needs are. We must show them what monies that we need so that we can be successful. If everybody in this room this morning makes that commitment, and you reach out to those in your communities, and it's hard, Judge. Sometimes it's very hard to get county judges, the county commissioners, law enforcement, and other community collaboration together in the room and make them understand the cost-saving measures that we can benefit from. But more importantly, I'll always go back to we're serving an individual that's suffering from mental health illness. What could be more important in your life than that? I was at a groundbreaking ceremony a few weeks ago at Austin, Texas. And Senator Watson made a comment during his presentation at the groundbreaking ceremony that's really struck in my heart. And his comments were something like this. You know, it's not ever about us. But being successful in the behavioral health care system in Texas, we'll never, ever know how many lives that we touched in a positive way. will never know what happiness that we can bring to families that have an individual family member that suffered from mental health illness. You know, what is your mark on society going to be when you leave? What are people going to say that you did to make your community better? I'm telling you that I will give every ounce of strength that I have to battle for those that suffer from mental health illness. Simply because I've seen the successes that can come from successful programs. This is an energetic group with some very influential people here. This is the base of where we need to start our work and continue our work. Law enforcement has to be there. LMHAs has to be there. Our judicial system has to be there. Our community support has to be there. So Judge, Christy, the work that your guys are doing, thank you. I want to thank every person in this room for your commitment, your influence, and your desire to make Texas be the #1 state. I'm proud of Texas. I don't want to be on a list where I'm on a low number. I want Texas to be #1 in everything that we do. And there's no reason why Texas can't be #1. Because I want other states to look at Texas and say, what are those guys doing and how did they change courses and achieve the success that we all know we can achieve? You get out of it what you put into it. I'm committed. I'm trying to get everybody else to be committed because it's a worthy cause. Again, I thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for what you've done. It's been an outstanding conference. And thank every one of you. And please keep the torch lit because we have a lot of work to do, but we have a lot of work that's worthy to do. Thank you.